This dude is a monster. You didn't even have to do all this. What is wrong with this man? Hello, little enzymes. Welcome back to Dacia's Digest. The topic of today's video is going to be Ask the Enzymes. So we will be going over original posts that have been posted on our very own subreddit. For those that don't know, we do have a subreddit for this channel. It's just r/Dacia's Digest. Typically, I would prefer if people just do original posts on there only, but you can do reposts. It's just at one point there are way too many reposts. It was like back to back to back to back to back to back. And I couldn't get through them enough to even see like where the original posts were. So if you do post on the subreddit, try to limit the repost to like 1 per day, unless it's like super juicy, or like if you do happen to come across an update to a story that I've already read, that's also a good place to add that, is on our subreddit, and you can like, add it in the comments or something like that. But yeah, so there were a few original posts on there, and honestly, they're kind of old now. Posted like 2 and 3 months ago, so I apologize. I'm so sorry, but I figured I would just do a dedicated video to all of these original stories from us. So I'll go ahead and go to the first one. It says, my boyfriend broke up with me after dating for just 2 months, and I'm trying my best to get over it. I'm 25 female and he's 27 male. Let's call him Jeff. I just need to get this off my chest. I'll start with admitting fault and not thinking hard enough before getting into this relationship. I will accept any judgment that comes my way. However, I'd appreciate more anyone who tries giving me advice, solutions, or even proper links to places I can find help. As I'm writing this, I still feel like crying a whole week later, so forgive any haphazardness in this post. It's going to be a venting session mostly. Jeff and I met on the 5th of October just over 2 months ago, and it felt like a fairy tale moment. Keep in mind, I've been single since April of this year. He was so attractive, and all I thought when I saw him was, this man is so hot. I just want him to have a conversation with me. At the time, I just wanted to know him, and as we met at a friend's place of business where we usually hang out after work, we were able to talk. He had just moved to our area and was kind of new and would love to be shown around. This is what I found out after talking. At this time, I was standing behind a counter and didn't realize how tall he was. That was to be discovered only a few minutes later, when I went out so we could talk more freely away from the rest of my friends. When I tell you he felt gigantic in comparison to my 5'2" frame, believe me, he is 6'2". I was mesmerized. After the short exchange we had at that particular spot, he suggested we take a walk, and we did. That day, I had time on my hands. I had been kicked out of home a few weeks prior and was planning on giving my friend who was hosting me as much space as necessary, so I wasn't getting back to the house early that evening. To cut the long story short, we planned to meet the next Wednesday. It was silly of me to let things escalate as fast as they did, and I would like to take full accountability for my actions in that moment. I would also like to explain where my mind was at the time. Having been kicked out sometime earlier, I was not in the right headspace. I was constantly crying and having mental breakdowns. I was lonely and felt like I couldn't actually tell anyone the true extent of my troubles. When we met on that Wednesday, we had spicy sleep for the first time. If y'all don't know, they had a 2-piece spicy. At first, I anticipated a casual relationship to be the case and didn't think of it again until Friday came. We planned to see each other again that evening and thought, well, it's just spicy sleep and nothing more. Well, how wrong was I about that? That evening, while having normal conversation while cuddling, he suggested we become official. At this point, I was unsure of how to react and asked him if he was sure about it, and he said yes. Let's point back to my previous statement. I was lonely as all hell and jumped at the opportunity to feel loved no matter how temporary it was going to be. I agreed to being official. Boy, was I wrong. By the end of the second week, the love bombing started being evident. I will list the things that happened and where my head was at in every step of the way. 1, he said, "I love you" before the end of the second week. I thought to myself that it was a bit fast, but decided to let it slide. I was too gullible and fell for it. 2, he gave me the key to his house without me requesting it. I was shocked, but also excited to be trusted with such a thing. 3, after he understood my living situation, he said, "You're always welcome to my place, even when I'm not around. That's why I gave you a key." He repeated this multiple times. At around the third week, I went to stay at my sister's, and at this point, he told me to bring over a change of clothes as he saw that I came and left with anything I had brought with me to his place. I foolishly agreed. By this time, the red flag meter wasn't operational. I took all he said, to be honest, and clung on his every word. I mean, let me just pause here. You're in a vulnerable situation, okay? Like, obviously, the home life is tumultuous. You don't really have, like, anywhere to go. Now, this person is offering you some sort of stability and love and all that stuff. So like I could see. So let me continue. They said 5, by this time he had insisted on taking me home on a few occasions and had met my sister, nieces, and on one separate occasion, my daughter. The only people who knew we were dating were my sister and my friends. 6, he started telling people whenever I was around how I was going to be his future wife. Oh my goodness. At this time, I must have been running on stupid juice, to be honest. We hadn't even crossed the 1-month mark yet. 7, he agreed to go to church with me, attended the whole service and whatnot. I regret that decision completely. 8, in one conversation where I told him I was planning on asking my cousin to take my daughter to church, he piped up and said, "Whenever you're too busy to take her, you can just let me know and I'll take her for you." Thank God I did not take him up on his offer. Okay, that is a flaming red flag. Because why are you so eager to get my daughter alone? I would be so concerned. Because some men, some PDF files will get close to women so that they can get close to their children. So you really got to be like super careful. That's a huge red flag. 9, by the end of the 4th week, my mom had asked me to go back home as my daughter didn't like me not sleeping at home as she knew I was sleeping at my sister's place. At this time, my mom found out through my sister that I was dating someone, though she didn't know who he was or for how long. When I told him my mom's perspective on me being in a relationship, he said he doesn't mind my mom knowing and she's gonna get used to it as he's not planning on going anywhere. 10, this I wouldn't call love bombing, but he made me take my guard down so that when my dad started being a little too close for comfort with me, as he has been with others historically, I ran to him. Granted, I had him to run to when my mom just blamed me for the occurrence. Ooh, sis, I'm so sorry. Ooh, you got a lot going on. Oh, I'm sorry you had to deal with that. 11, he made it a point to emphasize PDA in every possible situation. I love PDA, but he took it to the next level, kissing me around my friends, holding me a little tighter when we were walking, and calling me all pet names when in public. This is very important in the breakup. He made it a point to actively hang out with my friends even in my absence and tell me how good it is to meet more and more of my friends. 13, he maintained perfect communication lines between us for the whole period until 3 days before he dumped me. 14, he made sure to love me in my own love language and compliment me constantly. 15, took me out on my birthday and made my day the most beautiful day after several months of stress and panic attacks. This was just a week before the breakup. Now to the gist of the breakup. 3 days before the call came, I had an ominous feeling. He wasn't communicating as much and just ignored my calls. I've been told I have an anxious attachment style, and I think it is true. I started calling my best friends to seek clarity and to at least stay grounded. They kept telling me to stop worrying and that everything will be fine. He was gonna call. I didn't need to be stressed out about all of this. I tried to believe them, but this eerie feeling couldn't leave me. I know myself, and the panic attacks began. The last time I had such a feeling was when I fully recognized how much I never felt loved by my dad. That was a few months ago. I was with my cousins the day of the call. He had texted me in the morning to say I should expect a call at 7 p.m. that night. My anxiety was through the roof. I texted him seeking reassurance during the day, maybe to have some hope, but when he said nothing, I knew it was over. It was just a matter of waiting. So maybe she'll explain, but what led to this decision? Okay, she said he finally called at 8:26 p.m., an hour and 26 minutes late. I remember the anxiety I had between 7 p.m. and that time. When we began the conversation, I asked if we could continue our relationship, and his response was everything I needed to hear. You'll tell me after our call has ended. I knew then and there it was over. This is what he wanted to get off his chest. 1, he doesn't think he was ready for a relationship. When I asked him what made him start it in the first place, he said, I just think I was lonely. 2, he did not actually love me. He was just a horn dog and wanted access to intimacy from someone who would be committed to him. 3, he did not care about me in any way. God dang, that's... Ooh. He just felt the facade was necessary for him to get what he wanted. This is, in fact, what he said word for word. I was crying at this point. I felt so humiliated. 4, remember the PDA he initiated? He said he didn't even like it. He just did it to placate me. This dude is evil. This dude is a monster. You didn't even have to do all this. You didn't even have to say all this. What is wrong with this man? She said 5, when I asked him if any of it was real, he said, yeah, the intimacy was definitely real. I have never felt so broken in a relationship before. That's crazy. That's crazy. She said there was a lot said, but most of it was a blur considering I was trying not to pass out from asphyxiation. Why can I not say that word? Outside the house. I cried so hard that evening, and even a week later, I tried to put on a brave face, but it's hard. He finally asked if we can keep, in his words, going to Pound Town, considering our spicy sleep has been amazing. I feel like a street worker at this point. I feel like I have something broken in me. I have been craving a night out to go drinking, but I'm trying to avoid the urge. Again, I'm willing to take accountability for my role in all of this, but how do I get out of this feeling? I, at times, feel like I'm spiraling and need to be grounded. Around my friends, colleagues, and family, I have to be brave and strong. I am unwilling to let my mother know that I have been broken up with, and I'm planning on telling my friends this weekend. I told my sisters about it, but I'm still acting unfazed because anytime I think of talking about it, I end up crying. The thing is, I feel like he picked me up from my lowest only for him to throw me back down even lower. I feel like something is so broken in me that needs to be fixed before I try dating in the future. Anyone with suggestions on how to get through this and make better decisions in the future, please reach out. Whoo, sis. So I'm pre-reading the first comment here, and they say, you're human, show yourself a lot of grace. That's what I was gonna say. Give yourself some grace, because I don't even know how I would react to being in a situation. He basically made you feel like you were gonna be his future wife. Y'all were building this life together. Y'all were so in love, only to just one day all of a sudden be like, actually, I really just wanted to bang, if I'm being honest. Like, bro is evil. And you already started in a vulnerable situation. Now, I'm not no expert, and the little enzymes can also add their comments for their encouragement or advice or whatever. If you have access to a therapist of some sort, I would start there. Now, it might seem funny what I'm about to say, but if you don't have access to a therapist, use ChatGPT. Don't laugh. Don't laugh, because I've seen people say, oh yeah, I use ChatGPT as my therapist, or I asked ChatGPT this and this and that. The other day, I said, you know what? What the heck? I had been calling my friends back and forth about a particular situation. I called so many people, and I was like, you know what? I can't call them again because I'm going back and forth on this same situation. They're going to think I'm crazy. So let me just put a prompt into ChatGPT. And the output that it gave me in just 10 seconds, I was like, you know what? You're right. You're right. And I was like, it was giving me like specific suggestions, like specific things, courses of action. Like, so it might sound funny, but I think ChatGPT could be helpful for people who don't have like immediate access to therapy or something like that. Another resource that I would suggest, and I suggest this YouTube channel to everyone pretty much, is the Dr. John Deloney YouTube channel. He's a marriage and family therapist, I think, and he has a podcast where he just goes on YouTube. This is his YouTube channel, the Dr. John Deloney Show. He has almost 4,000 videos on here, just taking different calls from different people and giving them advice. Even if it doesn't particularly apply to your situation, I learned so much from watching his videos, just like about life and relationships and stuff in general. So I highly recommend his YouTube channel. I also recommend, let me grab it. Oh, this book. It's called Women Who Love Too Much by Robin Norwood. I've been reading this recently, and this is a great book too. This is also written by a former licensed marriage and family therapist. Basically, she takes different cases and stuff that she's seen over the years and like talks about each of them and how women love too much and how we relate and how that ties back to our childhood and how we can like do things differently, et cetera, et cetera. And it's not just for women, but this was written in like the 80s, but really anyone can read this book. Highly recommend this though. It sounds to me like you have a very, very complex relationship with your family that puts you in a vulnerable position to also have very, very complex relationships romantically. And that's not putting it on you, but like once you're able to realize certain behaviors and red flags, then going forward, you can make better decisions, if that makes sense. I'm not exactly sure what happened in the whole getting to know you stage with this man. I can only assume that certain information that you told him, he took that and took advantage of it. Again, not blaming you, but just if you're aware of certain things that you share with people in the future, maybe you can withhold certain information until you really know who a person is. If that's what happened, it might not have been, but just, an idea. As far as getting over it, ooh, child, I would just try to stay busy, to be honest. Like, get all these resources you can, try to get a therapist as you can, and I would just stay busy. Like, put all that energy that you feel about this situation into something really meaningful and positive that can benefit you. That's what I would try to do. And then just try to like get over it that way. It's not going to be easy, but I would just try to throw all my energy into something positive. And also, I'm not sure of your reasoning for not being open about the breakup and everything, but if you can find a trusted individual who you can confide in about it, I would do that too. Because, it might not be good just to be holding all of that in. But if there's someone who you can trust that can give you some sound advice that you can talk to, I would do that as well. So there are actually a few comments, and OP added a comment a month later. So I'll read that. The first person says, "You're human. Show yourself a lot of grace and be very kind to yourself. Writing this was a step in the right direction. Journaling can be helpful and you're taking accountability for your actions. A+. Also, don't bottle up your emotions. Speak to your friends or family because People are generally a lot more understanding than we perceive them to be. The only thing I'll really give you crap for is considering him being alone with your daughter under any circumstances. Maybe I just see the creep in everyone, but you have to be very careful where that's concerned. Agreed. They say some men with ill intent will love bomb you and move very quickly to get access to your child. Leave your daughter out of your dating life. You're still young and you're learning, but that's not something to gamble with. You definitely took a hit, but I'm certain you've learned a lesson. Go through the motions. 6 months from now, he won't even matter. I think that's great advice. I like that comment. And someone else said, as young females, we tend to try to explain things for others that don't even deserve the explanation or even curiosity. I literally have so many instances where it was in front of me and I didn't see it. But it's hard when they wrap the crappiness up in a gift wrap with a big pretty bow, because how do you actually know what's inside? I'm 24 and I'm figuring it out myself, but what I am learning is just not to move so fast, although we are never intending to. When you are out in situations where you can see you're breaking, get out of there. That's what I'm learning to do. Not saying cut them off, unless they are just too persistent and you see what they are after, then yeah, cut them off. But this was tricky because he was doing everything you would want done. The timing was just what we have to pay attention to next time. I hope you are feeling better now. This is one of those things only time can really heal, and the knowledge should only help you in the future. Just applying it is the hardest step, but you can do it. That's a great comment too. And I also agree that what he was doing wasn't necessarily wrong. It was the timing, because all of this happened within the first month. He was saying, I love you. He was telling you leave clothes over. He was trying to move you in. He was talking about you being his future wife. That's doing a lot in 1 month. So OP's update, so it was about 1 month later. They said, this is basically an update for anyone who cares. I don't know how to add an update, so here it is. I think I might be an a-hole for some things I'm doing, but I won't beat myself over it much. When the breakup was going on, I was honestly still broken and felt so down about everything. However, I bounced back and got to heal in my own way. My mom went to our upcountry with my daughter on December 12th, and I was left alone for the rest of December, which gave me time to go through the motions. I cried, called my friends to vent, and even went out with friends to fill the void that lay within. I had all the support I'd require throughout. I talked to my sisters about it and was comforted by both of them. Okay, good. I even decided to take more care of myself by getting my nails done, and my sister even took me to get a fresh haircut. Okay, period. I also got a new piercing to match my new look. I had initially shaved my hair in October. I talked to my friends who had known my ex and told them that I didn't expect them to stop their friendships with him, and emphasized that if ever they felt uncomfortable with us in the same space, I could always leave. He had started hanging out with my friends more and they had bonded. All in all, I started taking care of myself better, even dressed up more frequently. I honestly went out with friends for 5 days in a row to distract myself and finally decided to stop and reflect. Now to where I am the a-hole. After we broke up, I still had the keys to his house and took all my stuff aside from my mug that had my name on it. We had agreed to still meet up after all that went down because I had an online meeting scheduled for the next week and I needed a laptop. He had agreed to help me with it, but 2 days before the meeting, he said he wouldn't be able to help. Good thing I had a feeling he'd switch up and found a backup plan. So unfortunately, I couldn't get back my mug. I texted him that I would want it back, but he could keep anything else I had given. This is when he decided to ask for some of the stuff he'd given me. The things are a backpack, a jersey, a sleeveless hoodie, and his house key. I didn't give them back. There is one place we usually left our stuff for each other, a friend's shop, and he texted me to drop them off there, and I didn't. He then texted me that he was leaving for his parents and would be back to take the stuff, but I ignored him. I then blocked him on WhatsApp, but not on calls and texts. I forgot about him until January 2nd when he texted again. He reminded me of what I should drop off for him. I again ignored him and blocked him completely. I thought he'd forget about it, but he decided to tell my friends to call me and tell me to drop the stuff off because he couldn't reach me. I told my friends to stop contacting me about him. He took it further and told another friend to call me, and when I heard it was him speaking, I hung up. I have been doing all the work to get over him, and I'm traveling to a place 4 hours away for a couple of months. I feel justified to not give him his stuff back. I'm using it as a consolation prize for all the mental anguish I went through after we broke up. I felt like being pettier, but I won't take that route. All in all, I'm no longer as sad or broken as I was immediately after. I intend to stay as far away from dating as possible for now until I can see that the work I've put in is bearing any fruit. I'm not really asking for advice, just giving an update. Good job, OP. So it looks like you're recovering. I know you're not asking for advice. I would give him his stuff back. I would just want a clean break, and I would want to be able to say that I did everything I could to make the situation right. That's just me. Honestly, I wouldn't even want that energy around me anyway, like his stuff being around me. I wouldn't want that energy anyway. I wouldn't want the bad karma, anything from it. So I would just give it back. But you didn't ask. You didn't ask. So anyway, little enzymes, drop your comments or advice from OP. It looks like she's, is good now, but just in case. And I'll go to the next one. So this one is shorter. It says, my friend tried to set me up, but it blew up on him. This one is just a confession. Last year, an old friend, Jay, male in his early 40s, approached me, female 31, about a job opportunity. I had recently been looking for a job since I was pregnant and needed the extra income. I usually work from home on my own clothing line. He knows of my background in law since he was in his last years of law school when I first started law school at a much more prestigious school than his. So the job offer is being in charge of building the entire sexual harassment prevention office from scratch and managing it to be fully operational in a couple of weeks. The pay was minimum wage. I asked, why was the university so suddenly invested on having it up and running ASAP? And he mentioned a recent bill modification. Sorry, I don't speak English, and I'm not sure of the exact legal translation. He mentioned a difficult case, too. I told him I'd think about it. Fast forward to present day. The student from the difficult case he had mentioned is going viral on social media, accusing Jay and other higher-up people in the university of trying to blackmail him into dropping his lawsuit, threatening to not let him graduate if he doesn't. Jay's name is all over the videos, and I can't help but thank God I didn't take the job. I was going to be their scapegoat. Yikes. He knew how much I needed the job, and he tried to pull this on me. I don't think I can see him as a friend ever again. Girl, play Shamar. He ain't your friend. He is your enemy. Girl, you made the right decision. Anytime anyone is trying to rush you into making a decision for pretty much anything, it's probably not good. So, yeah, yikes. That one doesn't have any update or anything. Let me look at her page. Yeah, that one doesn't have any update or anything. So, and then the last post we have is, am I the a-hole for refusing to pay extra to my decorator? A few weeks ago, I threw a big birthday party. I have ADHD and a busy schedule, so I hired an event planner to handle everything. I paid for the top tier package, which was supposed to allow me to just show up, but I ended up doing a lot of work and decision making anyway. Still, the party turned out great, so this story isn't about the planner, it's about the decorator. The decorator is a family friend. I shared my vision with her, including photos and the venue details, and she quoted me $1,000, which I paid in 2 installments. My understanding was that her fee included setup, takedown, and travel, since the venue was an hour and a half from her home. However, communication became difficult when she went on an unannounced vacation leading up to my event. She apologized, returned just in time, and did a great job setting up the decorations. Here's where things went south. Midway through my party, while I was intoxicated, the decorator called and asked me to take down the decorations that night and store them in my storage room. She had the contact information for my event planner and should have directed this request to her, but she didn't. Despite this, I agreed, thinking it wouldn't be a problem. At the end of the party, still intoxicated, I began taking things down and informed my event planner about it. She was surprised and questioned why the decorator had made such a request. Against her better judgment, she assisted with the takedown, though she was understandably frustrated as she hadn't been informed this would be part of her responsibilities. Ultimately, I managed to store the items, but it was a chaotic situation that I hadn't planned for, and I felt it was unfair to put this task on me. Let me pause there, sister, because the task wasn't put on you. You agreed. Up until the part where you said she called and you agreed, I was with you. Now, I do understand you were intoxicated, so maybe your decision-making skills were slightly impaired, but you did agree. So at this point, it's your responsibility. I would have been like, oh, actually, and I don't know, maybe I wouldn't have because, again, she was intoxicated. But ideally, I would have been like, oh, I can't handle this. Can you call the event planner? Like, I'm in the middle. Honestly, I might not even have answered the phone. I don't know. She said the next day I traveled an hour and a half to her city, but my original plan was to meet loved ones and continue celebrating my birthday. I offered to bring her items into the city as a courtesy, assuming she would meet me wherever I requested, especially since I had saved her the $100 travel cost she would have incurred by coming to collect the items herself. However, she refused to meet me downtown and instead requested that I drive an additional 30 minutes east to meet her. Girl! On top of that, she imposed strict time constraints for the meeting, which frustrated me because my plan was to celebrate with my loved ones, not spend my birthday running errands. Why did you say yes? Why do you keep saying yes? She requested, but that doesn't mean you have to say yes. She works for you. You hired her, and she got you running from here to Timbuktu, and you just keep saying, okay, why? I would have been like, unfortunately, I can't do that. I'm celebrating my birthday. If you want your items, you can come pick them up where you left them, because that wasn't part, like, and maybe you said yes because, as you mentioned, is a family friend, so maybe like you felt a little bit more obligation. Couldn't be me. She said, for comparison, another vendor who lived further away went out of her way to meet me downtown, accommodating my schedule to finalize her work. Eventually, I told the decorator I could drop her items at her house when I was done celebrating and before I headed home in the opposite direction of her city. She agreed, but once again placed a time constraint on when her things needed to be delivered. The next morning, when I delivered the items to her front door, she wasn't home to assist. Unfortunately, I later realized that some linens were missing. I called her, apologized, and advised her that I would search for the items once I returned home to see if they were in my storage room. However, I told her that if I found the linens, I wouldn't be able to bring them back to her due to my busy work schedule over the next few weeks. I suggested finding an alternative for their return. She agreed, and notably, the time constraints no longer existed. Once I got home, I searched everywhere only to discover they'd been accidentally thrown out during cleanup, likely because we had to use garbage bags to store them. I felt bad, but also frustrated because takedown and item retrieval weren't supposed to be my responsibility. I paid her to handle that. Now she's asking me to pay for the missing linens, which cost $500. I feel like I've already gone above and beyond by doing half of her job, returning her items, and covering her full fee despite these issues. I don't think it's fair to pay more but my mom, who has a working relationship with her, insists I cover the cost to avoid conflict. I've delayed payment, hoping the decorator might waive the fee out of goodwill, but she's following up about it. At this point, I'm ready to explain my perspective and refuse to pay, even if it means upsetting my mom or the decorator. So, am I the a-hole for refusing to pay extra when I feel like I've already been over accommodating? Okay, I'm trying to think of this in the mind of Judge Millian because I watch a lot of People's Court. So let me put my judge hat on. I think that this one is a tough situation. I don't think that you should be fully responsible for the payment, but I think you guys should be half and half responsible because, again, as I said, you agreed to take responsibility for storing the items. If that's not something that you wanted to do and to have responsibility of, I would have not said yes. But essentially, like, the linens were in care of you and you agreed. So I would make you half responsible for the cost of the linens. If it had to be my decision, I would make you half responsible because then on her side, she was supposed to be there, but you guys had a verbal amendment to the contract when she called you on the phone and you agreed. Now, you said my understanding was that her fee included setup, takedown, and travel. Was there a contract? I would refer to the contract, and hopefully you guys had one, even if it was like an email of what exactly she was supposed to deliver with the service. Because you can have one understanding and she can have another understanding about what she's actually supposed to do. And it sounds like she did have a different understanding because the whole I gotta travel an hour and a half to deliver her linens that she didn't even, yeah. Also, I think you should probably take a little bit more responsibility because you say you felt that you've been over accommodating. You'd made that choice. It sounds harsh, but you made that choice to be over accommodating and you didn't have to. So you can't factor that into the cost of the linens, if that makes sense. Because you can't agree to something, but then later say, well, I agreed to this, so I don't have to do this, when they don't. Like, it's two separate issues, I feel like. Maybe I'm wrong. Honestly, I would take her to small claims because $500 ain't no small amount. So if she really wanna, it don't have to be no animosity, but let's have the judge figure it out. Let's have the judge decide and see. And if I were the judge, I'd say it's a 50-50 split. You pay $250 and she, covers the other half. Also, I would want receipts for the cost of the linens. And a judge is not going to award the cost of new linens. They're going to award the cost of used linens, which is going to be even less probably than the $500. So that's another thing to consider. If she were to win a case like this, this is not even a case. I'm acting like it's like a legit case. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, because I feel like this is a hard situation. I do think she was being a little bit unprofessional and difficult, so I don't want to put all the blame onto you. But again, like, if it's something that later you're going to be like, well, I over accommodated, then don't say yes. Because if you agree to it, then that's it. You agree to it. But I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And then that was the last main story that we had. If you have any other original posts that you would like read on this channel, please go put them in the r/Dacia's Digest subreddit and I will read them. It's not guaranteed that I will read it, but if I find that it's interesting, I will read it. And the video is not available. I had this cute video of these dogs for the palette cleanser. You can see it in the thumbnail as I'm scrubbing on the video timeline. It's just all these little dogs that ran out of this little like thing and they were so cute. That was gonna be the palette cleanser, but I don't know. I guess it got taken down that quick. Oh, it was deleted. Okay, well. Oh, there's a lot of bad comments. Oh, yikes. Well, okay. I thought this is my other palette cleanser. I thought this was funny. The title says it's the little things and the text says being in the hospital can make you pretty miserable, but the littlest thing will put a smile on your face. And there's a caution wet floor sign in the shape of a banana peel. I don't know. That's so funny to me. Oh man. Yeah, I thought that was very funny, ironic, and cute. So thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.